Out comes Alolan Ninetales. Clefable gonna fire off the Moonblast, which is gonna land for some heavy neutral damage, and it is Golurk time. Ice types usually pretty good into ground types, however not when you're running Charm. Golurk gonna be going for the one shield, Mud Slap farm all the way down. And when Greedent does return, we've got that Dynamic Punch locked and loaded, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Welcome back to the channel. I'm well aware that most people watch my content for entertainment purposes only. However, this is one of them very rare days where I'm coming at you with a very strong team you can actually climb with. I personally went 20-5 with today's team. I'll be honest, a few of the games you're going to see today I threw because I'm a potato and I like to test stuff out for science, so it could have actually been 23-2. However, I'm well aware that a lot of my teams don't make too much sense to anyone other than myself. Jeff Love, a good friend of mine and fellow PvP Fight Club admin, tried this team out and he went 18-2. That is a ridiculous 37 wins and 7 losses with 2 different trainers with 2 very different play styles. I'm a hyper aggressive trainer. I often like to pivot. I don't really like alignment too much. What I like is energy or shield advantage. Jeff Love, on the other hand, is someone who likes alignment. So he's often going to stay in leads where I like to pivot. Today we're going to see 3 sets from myself and a set from Jeff Love. So regardless of your playstyle, this team can work for you. So a few people recently have been commenting they really like it when I talk about how I come up with my teams. So I'll be honest, I just wanted to test out Shadow Golruk. So I punched it into pvpoke. Shout out pvpoke. That guy does God's work. He is an absolute goated member of the community. I scrolled down to team partners. Number 1 was Clefable. I thought, well, that thing's been buffed. It sounds like a good plan to start with them too. I'm personally a sucker for an ABB team, so I really wanted to just plonk Dust Noir on the team. I've got the Shadow maxed out at level 51. I'm itching to use it. However, with that team, what the hell am I going to say switch? Dust Noir running a full Ghost moveset is going to be walled by Dark or Normal type. Shadow Golruk is insanely glassy. If I see an Ice type or a Flyer, I'm probably going to cry. Once again referring to pvpoke, Feraligatr come up at like number 6 on the perfect team partner for these two. And that makes a lot of sense for me. Because Gator is going to draw out something like a Dark type or a Mandibuzz. Not only because they resist the Shadow Claw, but also because I've led Clefable. They're essentially going to want to keep it away from my lead. So there we are. That's how I come up with this team. If I don't see the Dark type in the lead, especially Mandibuzz, I'm going to be safe switching into Gator, looking to draw it out. We're going to be saving 2 shields for Golurk, looking to sweep the backline. This intro has been far too long. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we're off to a good start. We see Virizion in the lead. Clefable, very advantageous in this matchup. The opponent looking for some chip and dip action. They fire off the Leaf Blade, then pivot into Ampharos. And I'm also going for that chip and dip. Ampharos with access to Brutal Swing and Trailblaze is going to be something Golurk needs to be mindful of. With that chip damage, we're going to be able to tank 1 move, throw 1 Mud Slap and the Shadow Punch, removing Ampharos from the field of play, keeping that super positive alignment. I could have actually threw 1 further Mud Slap, which would have been close to knocking out. And if it wouldn't have knocked out, I could have threw the Shadow Punch there. But it is what it is, not the best energy management on my part. However, I intentionally do not throw that Shadow Punch there. Golurk, of course, would be winning CMP. So with that in mind, I thought the opponent wouldn't throw, and I was looking to force the energy. The opponent actually dumps it as soon as possible. That's great for me, as I didn't want to be in a situation where I was shielding first. The opponent chipped me with 1 further Leaf Blade, then send out Mandibuzz. We're able to land the Moonblast. I then try my luck, catch an Aerial Ace onto Gator unsuccessfully. But Gator really doesn't care about Mandibuzz's energy, because this thing hits like a wet noodle. In the grand scheme of things, Shadow Gator is insanely glassy in the Ultra League. However, we're easily able to survive the Shadow Ball and the Aerial Ace. We then fire off 4 Shadow Claws and the Hydro Cannon for optimal fast move timing, removing Mandibuzz from the field of play. Back out comes Virizion. We farm up, baiting a potential Ice Beam, forcing a Protect Shield. We're then going to bank a move for the road and pivot out into Clefable with 2 Protect Shields, 2 Hide Behind. I'm going to shield at the Leaf Blade, throw 1 Fairy Wind and the Moonblast. There's no point in baiting. We're just looking for the knockout. The opponent looks to call the bait, and we manage to take that game. So if you look to the left, it does say Ice Beam. I'll be honest, I thought my Gator was on Ice Beam, but I have been playing Battle Frontier Ultra League recently. I TM'd it to Crunch, and I thought, shit. I really want Ice Beam, however, I'm quite low on TMs. I think I go all of like 4 battles. Then I play some TM Roulette, and it cost me a 3 further TMs, which leaves me with 5 to get Ice Beam. But I wasn't disappointed, as we're going to see some Ice Beams land. This is one matchup that's going to be very advantageous having Crunch, although as I say that, Crunch didn't knock out Cresselia, how it did leave him on a sliver of HP. The opponent then sends out Ampharos, so I'm really glad I didn't shield the Grass Knot, as the opponent has a very hard counter. We land the Hydro Cannon, the opponent commits to the full Volt Switch farm down. We're just going to send out Clefable and look to use it as the damage sponge. In case you're wondering, why didn't I send out Golurk? Well, I don't fancy taking a Brutal Swing or a Trailblaze. To my surprise, this opponent's actually running Thunder Punch, but regardless, Clefable withstands the damage, fires off the Swift, securing the knockout, and out comes Greninja. You might be thinking, well, this doesn't look great. However, Golurk in the 2 shields is a monster. Mud Slaps doing objectively more than these Water Shriekins. I'm just going to go for the 2 shield. Look to Mud Slap farm them all the way down. The opponent pivots out into Cresselia, trying to catch a move, but trainer, I really am not throwing. I'm committing to that fast move beatdown. The opponent takes me out with the Night Slash. We're going to be able to Fairy Wind farm down, take that game, and the opponent can save them shields for next season. In the next battle, we see Jellicent in the lead. I'm going to aggressively send out Gator. The opponent stays in. As I'm still rocking Crunch, why not YOLO it? Crunch goes unshielded, doing very respectable damage to Jellicent. The opponent at a potential Shadow Ball, and I have no intentions of shielding Gator. We're saving 2 shields for Golurk. The opponent actually bait with the Surf, and more fall on you. We're able to reach the Hydro Cannon, forcing a Protect Shield. The opponent has thrown 8 Hexes, which gives them 96 energy. Last season, at 96 energy, you'd have enough for a Surf and a Shadow Ball. However, Surf this season costs 45. So 96 minus 45 gives you 51. Trainer, that wasn't enough for a Shadow Ball, hence I'm not respecting it. Every season when we have move rebalances, I think it's super important to refamiliarise yourself with the energy requirement for each charge move. As I did there, I knew they couldn't have a Shadow Ball, so it's not even like I showed huge cojones, I just knew they didn't have the energy. The opponent actually make a very nice Moonblast catch onto Cresselia. However, this works fantastically for me. The first one landed, the second one forced the final Protect Shield, and it's time for Golurk to do what Golurk does best and sweep the backline. I send out Golurk, I look to fire off the Shadow Punch on the charge attack priority. I actually imagined this would remove him from the field of play, but Cresselia super tick. However, with 2 shields, it's pretty irrelevant. We're just going to shield. Look for the Mud Slap farm down. The opponent not wanting to get farm down. Send out Sylveon. That thing is never doubling up on charge moves as it is so slow. Shadow Punch secures the knockout. We Mud Slap farm down Cresselia and take that game. In the next battle, we see the Kentucky Fried Chicken, a bird of death, not fantastic. We say switch into Gator and out comes Virizion. It's at this point I'm thinking, where is my Ice Beam? You already know I never bait, so if I had Ice Beam, I would be YOLOing it. Does the opponent respect it? No, they don't. Which is very rough, and after this battle, I'm definitely going to TM over to Ice Beam. I send out Clefable. I'm thinking, can I Fairy Wind farm this all the way down and spam that Talonflame with 1 bazillion Swifts? That is probably a very uphill task. We can tank 3 Leaf Blades, but we're going to be incredibly low, which will put me in 1 Incinerate range. So that's plan aborted. We're just going to fire off the Swift. Swift won't be lethal. We are going to Fairy Wind farm down, and we do leave with energy. I'm actually going to pivot into Golurk. The opponent sends out Gator. Oh man. It looks like triple hard counters, although the opponent has thrown an alignment. So we're obviously going to go for good timing, 1 and the move. Perhaps this is playable, but I think I'm coping. The first Shadow Punch, force the Protect Shield again. I'm going to 1 and throw, and I'm going to look to catch back onto Clefable. However, switch timer isn't up. The opponent going to commit to the full Shadow Claw farm down. There's literally no point in shielding this up. So we're going to gracefully concede the match, tanking the charge move. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Shadow Zard. I'll be honest, I was definitely expecting Fire Spin, but they're still on Legacy Wing Attack. Oh, did I mention I TM to Ice Beam? Does this opponent know? They do not. Hi, Dragonite, remove yourself from my screen. We land that big beam. Back out comes Virizion. I'm not shielding this. As much as I'd like to Ice Beam them. Gator, you've done your job. And we're going to send out Clefable to greet this Virizion. We know the opponent is going to be looking to send back out Zard. I'm going to bank my energy. When I see Zard come in, we're sending out Golurk. The opponent is still switch locked. So again, we're not baiting. You either guarantee the shield or do big damage. We force that protection. The opponent does make that pivot and out comes Golurk. I could have went for the chip and dip here with the Swift. However, I'd much rather just bank the energy for when we re-enter the Virizion matchup. We're going to shield once, fire off the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch forces the final Protect Shield. And you can see the Mud Slaps. I've probably put this into Swift range. I use Shadow Zard a lot and that thing is insanely glassy. However, the opponent only throws a Dragon Claw, which means Golurk is going to be a Charizard counter confirmed. You heard it here first. We're going to pivot back out into Clefable, and this game is signed, sealed, and delivered. We've already seen that Leaf Blade isn't all that threatening, so we're going to save that shield as Golurk needs all the shields he can possibly get. Hopefully we get to use 3 in a further battle. Of course, I'm just kidding, but we do take that game. In the next battle, we see Greedent. Greedent, why are you here? You've been nerfed, and I was hoping I'd never see you again. However, I guess if you invested in this thing and maxed it out all the way to level 50, you're probably quite stubborn and looking to make it work regardless. The opponent, to my surprise, shield the Moonblast. Greedent, very tick, don't often shield. But despite it going shielded, we actually get the attack drop, which is hilarious. All that praying to them RNG gods coming off clutch. When people ask me what religion I am, I tell them I pray daily to them RNG gods. Moonblast, only a 10% attack drop chance, and we got it. We land the Moonblast, tank one further body slam, and then we send out Gator. It's not too often you want to send Gator out into a normal type, but they found themselves in Hydro Cannon range and they are debuffed anyway. The opponent actually didn't want to lose all that energy and burn the final shield, which is pretty questionable. Why would you 2-shield Greedent and then send out Malamar? I'm thinking, I may as well get some use out of Gator here. It's not too often that we shield Gator. We're just going to fire off the Hydro Cannon on the CMP tie, removing them from the field of play, and then we're going to force the energy off that Greedent. Unless they're on Trailblaze, one move won't be lethal, so this opponent is going to have to dump all their energy. The first body slam doesn't get the job done, and the opponent is going to dump the remainder energy. Thank you very much. Greedent, insanely bulky, so I'm unsure if I can Mud Slap farm them down before they reach a crunch. I don't want to burn the final shield, so I send out Clefable. The opponent pivots out into Ninetales. Ninetales greeted with the Moonblast to the face, and it's time for Golurk. Ice types, usually pretty good into ground, have a charm, generates energy super slowly. We shield up the Weather Ball, commit to the full Mud Slap farm down, leaving with the Dynamic Punch, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Clefable into Giratina, a very nice lead for us. The opponent instantly pivots out into a Alolan Mach, and look at the Mud Slap damage, that is absurd. The opponent builds to the Dark Pulse, we are going to respect it. As the opponent didn't bait, I think I can Mud Slap farm all the way down. Oh baby, we are so loaded. Back out comes Giratina. We go for the correct one Mud Slap and the Shadow Punch for optimal fast move timing. Giratina, very, very thick. Shadow Punch, not known for its damage output, but Giratina is not tanking these particularly well. The second one almost knocks out. We get the Mud Slap farm down. Out comes Skeledirge, and Golurk sweeps the entire team. Golurk is meta. You heard it here first. In the next battle, we see Walrein in the lead. I actually think Walrein is going to be pretty good this season. I might actually dust off my Shadow and pretend it's season 10 and give it a run out myself. The opponent farms to a potential Earthquake. We land the Moonblast, so even if the opponent Earthquakes, I don't really care as we tank it really well. I always like to pivot, so we're going to bank a Moonblast for the road and look to catch the Icicle Sphere onto Gator where it is resisted. Icicle Sphere does absolutely nothing, and the opponent sends out Trevenant Trainer. This is not a great matchup for you. I'm more than happy to shield once here, knowing I can force both Protect Shields off the opponent or just knock them out. I'm going to heavily overfarm before firing off the Hydro Cannon. This isn't even a bait here, as Hydro Cannon will knock out from this range. The opponent shields the first, which means it's a pretty pointless shield unless they're willing to 2-shield. The opponent gives me both Protect Shields, and I'm more than happy to take my shield advantage. Despite the opponent being low, of course, we're going to have to Moonblast, as Ghost types do double resist normal, so Swift would do like absolutely nothing. I overfarm, pause a turn, ensuring the opponent doesn't make a catch. Moonblast will be picking up the knockout. The opponent then sends out Blaziken, running Fire Spin, which has been buffed, and then pivot out into Walrein. The opponent did have the Icicle Sphere. I guess they didn't throw, recognising the game is over. Back out comes Blaziken for a very brief cameo appearance. The Dynamic Punch picks up that one-hit KO, and we emerge victorious. In the next battle, we see Skuntank in the lead. We pivot into Gator, which also has a loser matchup, and out comes Virizion. Last time, I would have landed the Ice Beam. Again, we're not baiting, we're full sending the Ice Beam. Ice Beam doesn't one-shot, but does massive damage, putting him in farm down range. Unfortunately, not for Gator. As much as I'd like to take back Switch, it simply isn't happening, but Clefable can come in and get itself a little bit of an energy lead. We wait our clock, send out Clefable, hopefully a Virizion out the way. Golurk will be very good into whatever's in the back. We actually send out Golurk, getting a 1 Mud Slap head start, and out comes Jellicent. As we've got an energy lead, this certainly won't be a bad matchup. Of course, we're going to have to shield the surf. They're never going to shadow ball me. So we're actually going to pause a turn every time I want to throw, ensuring this shadow punch lands on Gelatin and isn't caught on Skunk Tank. So Gelatin is completely dry here, and they're going to be 4 hexes off. You can see I'm almost at the double shadow punch. So again, I pause a turn, throw in the shadow punch. What I should do now is throw one further mud slap. Wait for the hex to start. You can see the opponent did stay in. I could have knocked him out with a shadow punch. Got off some mud slap damage on this Skunk Tank. Oh man, I have no idea why I played it like this. However, we have thrown the game. However, this is very, very winnable, despite being in theory triple hard countered. This game so pissed me off. I played these battles like 7 AM. You can see in the top left corner, it's super early. I was very annoyed. However, it's important that you learn from my mistakes. Despite the unfavourable alignment, that game was so winnable. So learn from my mistakes so you don't also make them as well. In the next battle, we see Zygarde in the lead. The opponent say switches into Mewtwo. I'm going to go for some chip and dip. I doubt Mewtwo shields, as Mewtwo incredibly thick. And after landing that Moonblast, they're certainly going to be in Hydro Cannon range. It's really important when you're tilted to try and dust yourself off and keep a clear head. I'll be honest, I was so tilted after that last battle. A battle I really should have won, but didn't emerge victorious. However, regardless of that, we're looking to bounce back in style. So again, we're not messing around. We're full sending the Ice Beam, guaranteeing big damage or a Protect Shield. We force our Protect Shield. We're sitting in a great spot, Clefable, so advantageous in this matchup. And we've got shield advantage for Golurk versus whatever's in the back. That thing in the back happens to be Salazzle. And my god, have you ever seen something almost free shot by a quick move in the Ultra League? I doubt it, but you now have. And we managed to bounce back in very quick fashion, taking the game. In the next battle, we see Sylveon on the lead. This is another matchup where we are going to look to chip and dip. So using a 2-turn move like Fairy Wind, you want to throw out 1, 4, 7 or 10. I opt for 10 just so I've got residual energy for when we send Clefable out later. We land the Moonblast, make a pivot into Gator. This opponent builds up to their own Moonblast. And I'm actually going to shield Gator, as Moonblast would almost one-shot. A Shadow Gator isn't all that bulky. Our Gator save switch baits out Gyarados, which is great for me as Golurk wants to keep well away from this thing. We force our Protect Shield back with the Ice Beam. We're going to say thank you very much for your contribution, Gator, and allow the crunch to knock us out. Don't get it twisted. If you take a Moonblast on your Gator from something like Cresselia, it doesn't hurt much because Cresselia insanely bulky and they're not a fairy. A stab Moonblast from Sylveon really hurts. Speaking of Moonblast, we managed to land one on this Gyarados, leaving on a sliver of HP, which looks like snipe range to me. Once again, we send out Golurk, getting that one mud slap running start, and with Golurk's pacing, it is so nice. The opponent sends out Skeledirge. Holy cow, the opponent tries to make a catch, trainer. I was never throwing. We mud slap farm all the way down. We're just going to shield this up. They've certainly found themselves in Shadow Punch range. Yes, that's alignment, but we survived that Incinerate. So it really doesn't matter. The first one forces the Protect Shield, and the second one is going to be all she wrote, with Golurk being the king of the closers. GG's. In the next battle, we see someone else running Shadow Gator in the lead. This is pretty scary. We are going to tank one move, but Shadow Gator hits insanely hard, and ouch, that does a lot of damage. Again, we're going to pause a turn, ensuring the Moonblast lands on Gator. I think a lot of people like to bait Shadow Pokemon. This opponent looks to call the bait. We YOLO the nuke, and we are rewarded. We then make the pivot into Gator, looking to tank the energy. The opponent throws the Hydro Cannon, and then send out Cobalion. Cobalion, not that great into this matchup, if I'm being honest. They don't tank these Hydro Cannons particularly well. They do get 2-shot. Despite us being glassy, we should survive this and make one further Hydro Cannon. I'd really love to pull a shield here. Setting up Golurk with a 2-to-1 shield advantage. The opponent obliges, putting up that Protect Shield, and it is Golurk time. Look at the Mud Slap damage. Golurk gets the full Mud Slap farm down, and we're never going to know what's in the back as the opponent concedes the match. Speaking of throwing, you want to see a throwing matchup. This is actually my own team. The person running it is actually a subscriber. Shout out to him. He commented on my Legend video last season. I fought for science. We're going to tank a crunch. Yeah. No, we're not going to tank a crunch. So there's another thing you can learn from this video. Does Golurk tank a crunch? Absolutely not. We've already thrown this battle, but I thought it was hilarious. And this opponent definitely emerged victorious. And I had a great time, and I'm sure he did as well. We know it's Skunk Tank in the back, so we're going to send out Gator. Say, Jamie, you're a potato, and there's the second thrown matchup. In the next battle, we'll see another Skunk Tank in the lead. I'm actually going to play this one differently. I think I was very lucky in the last matchup that I threw that the opponent pivoted out, because what they could actually do is just stay in. Clefable isn't actually all that bad into this matchup. Trailblaze might be vamping up their attack, but it doesn't do much damage. We landed the Moonblast, we then fire off the Swift, forcing a Protect Shield, and that's perfect, as we can send out Golurk, shield once, and get a running start. Another reason I'm staying in is I think I know the team. I think it's going to be Trevenant and Tapu Fini. So I think they would have brought in Trevenant if that was the case. Shield and Gator upper Protect Shield just beats that team. It's actually Drapion that comes in, so we bank our energy, try and catch a Crunch, and not getting one shot for the second consecutive battle. However, they didn't throw, but they do throw the Crunch regardless. We just didn't catch it, and out comes G-Weezy. What the heck is this team? ABA Poison. They are triple weak to ground. You're going to see here, I'm actually going to fully undercharge. So I imagine the opponent wouldn't shield. They actually do shield, so this game is signed, sealed, and delivered. We might get one shot by a Crunch, but a non-stab Brutal Swing certainly isn't going to get the job done. Back out comes Drapion. Dynamic Punch, gonna pick up that one hit KO. We're gonna Mud Slap farm down. A team triple weak to Golurk, would you believe it, loses to Golurk. So the reason I fully undercharged that move is I didn't want Drapion to come in and Poison Sting farm down my Gator, get an energy lead, making it a dicey endgame. In the next battle, we see Tapu Fini in the lead. We didn't see it in the last battle where I expected to see it, but here it is. This thing has been nerfed, the Surf costs more energy. We tank the Nature's Madness, pivot into Gator, baiting out Poliwrath. This is a matchup that has got a lot better for Gator this season, as it's going to take the opponent longer to get to charge moves, which essentially means it's going to be longer before they can potentially debuff my damage output. The opponent even very nicely gives me a huge energy lead, which I'm very grateful for. Unless this is a dynamic punch, it isn't going to knock out the opponent throw the Scold, which doesn't get the job done. And Gator, doing what Gator does best, spams out one further Hydro Cannon, forcing a Protect Shield, and we're going to look for the snipe. We fire off the Swift. They're in Swift range, the opponent unwilling to 2-shield Poliwrath. They then send back out Tapu Fini. They opt to dump energy, and we're going to take our shield advantage Golurk and look to sweep the back line. Despite having a 2-to-1 shield advantage, I'm still waiting out my clock, as I did go for the combo play, so I am going to be switch locked. We're always going to keep Gator available as a third shield. The opponent actually sends out Gastrodon. This is the first and only one I saw today. We fire off the Shadow Punch, forcing the Protect Shield. This is almost certainly a body slam bait. I'll be honest, if I hadn't already thrown 2 matches today, I'd be looking for that 2-shield flex. They do go for the body slam bait, but no bait will be saving this opponent's fate. That silly snail can return to the Great League. We Mud Slap farm down, Tapu Fini, and take that game. In the next battle, we see Giratina in the lead. Despite having access to Swift now, I think you're an idiot if you Swift bait a bulky dragon from full health. I never bait. But even if you are a baiter, don't bait in this matchup. We full send the Moonblast. The opponent fucked about. They found out. They've already shown Ancient Powers. We're going to tank this again and look to snipe with Gator. The opponent doesn't get the boost. We send out Gator, get a very nice 2 Shadow Claw running start. And out comes Lotix. Very cool. And another Pokemon I really want to test out, although I'm very poor and haven't got the XL candy. Although in fairness, I don't think that's a bad thing, as when I shoutcast this thing, I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong for the duration of the video. Is it Lotix? Is it Lowkicks? I don't know. It's kind of like when I shoutcast Golem. Sometimes I call it Golem, and then randomly I just call it Golem. The opponent makes a very nice catch, predicting when I was going to throw the Swift, catching onto Tapu Fini. Golurk doesn't really have anywhere to go in this battle, but we may as well send out here. At least the Mud Slaps are going to hit for neutral, whereas against that Bug that I cannot pronounce, they are going to be resisted, as Bug, despite being a pretty crappy typing, does resist ground. We have got 2 shields, so I'm going to commit one on Golurk. Now I am going to outpace to the next Shadow Punch. The Shadow Punch forces the Protect Shield, giving me a very clear win con. I look to fire off the Swift, the opponent catches back onto low kicks. Come on, we're going to roll with low kicks. We go for the undercharge, getting one further fairy win. The opponent's win con is going to be farming me down. They're unable to do it, but I think the opponent played very well despite some unfavourable alignment. GG's to that opponent. So as you can see, we've chalked up a lot of wins and players are starting to play pretty well, meaning my hidden elo might not be that bad despite running some nonsense in the early part of the season. So we see Cobalion. I always play this matchup the same way. If we're playing against decent trainers, I throw the Moonblast as soon as I get it. Firstly, because that's good timing. I'm then going to anticipate the opponent throwing the Stone Edge at good timing. So I throw one Fairy Wind and catch onto Gator. My Gator SA switch is answered by a Charm Primarina. The opponent is going to be able to fully charm me down, but we've done some very valuable chip damage despite the Hydro Cannon being resisted. We actually threw that Hydro Cannon not at the best timing, to be honest, either, but it is what it is. We send back out Clefable, we're going to tank the move, we're then going to overfarm before firing off the Swift, and we're going to look to pivot and hope Golurk's good against whatever's in the back. However, guess what? It really is not. Look at the Astonish damage, it is ridiculous. We're going to fire off the BN Dynamic Punch, just because I don't want to get too shield flexed. The opponent obliges putting up that Protect Shield, and that'll do for me. You can't win them all. In the next battle, we see Guzzlord in the lead. Oh, hello Guzzlord. Nice to see you nice. The opponent switches into Primarina. We haven't seen one for the duration of the video, and then we see two consecutively. This one is on Waterfall, so very advantageous for us. The opponent doesn't build to the Moonblast, so now I can tank either a Disarming Voice or a Hydro Cannon, hence the easy no shield decision. I don't think I can Shadow Claw farm him all the way down, so we're just going to play it safe. After overfarming, fire off the Hydro Cannon. With the overfarm, we are going to be able to fire off the Ice Beam again. No reason to bait. Force the shield or do big damage. Ball in the opponent's court. The opponent tanks the damage. They're left in the yellow. Even if they're on Sludge Bomb, Clefable easily tanks one. They send out Skeledirge, and it's going to be very much RPS in my favour. So this is the final one of my own battles. Then we're going to move on to Jeff Love's. So despite me going on an insane win streak, we actually kept a lot of the losses in because I think a lot of them were winnable games. Sometimes content creators brag about their team and just show their wins. I actually decided to show a lot of my losses because I think they were winnable. So if you're going to use this team, you can learn from my mistakes and emerge even more victorious than I did. So Jeff picks up Clefable into Licky Licky. As much as I like to pivot, we can't really pivot out in this matchup. Golurk, of course, would be resisting the rollouts, but Shadow Ball is the recommended move, and even an Earthquake would do a lot. You can see the opponent is on Shadow Ball, and as I said previously, unlike me, Jeff opts to stay in a lot. So he tanks 2 Shadow Balls, fires off 2 Moonblasts, and then goes to the snipe with Golurk. I've shoutcast my buddy Jeff numerous times in the past, and these videos always get comments of people saying his fast move timing isn't the best. I think even he'll admit that. However, one thing I will say about Jeff is his team building is always phenomenal. He's been able to hit 3500 elo, which is quite impressive, and not that many people can reach that elo, and he reaches legend and leaderboards essentially every single season. While I was yapping away, I'm sure you'll have noticed that single resisted mud slap damage was crazy. It didn't look resisted to me. Jeff sends out Gator with a 2-to-1 shield advantage, gets baited with the flame charge, which is pretty rough, and out comes Cresselia. So Jeff finds himself in quite a problematic position, as most Cresselias will be running Grass Knot, especially now that Future Sight has been nerfed. But who was worried? Not Jeff. He catches the first Grass Knot onto Clefable. The opponent goes to the full undercharge, which is a very heads-up play, allowing him to get the full farm down. Gator comes in, fires off the Hydro Cannon, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. This is quite a tricky endgame for Jeff. He shields at the Grass Knot. He could fire off the Hydro Cannon on the CMP, but that is risky, as the opponent of course could make a catch back onto Talonflame. He actually opts to overfarm. The opponent then sends out Talonflame. Jeff fires off 1 Shadow Claw and the Hydro Cannon, ensuring he doesn't take the Incinerate, and that is going to allow him to outpace to the next Hydro Cannon. A very, very well played endgame, with Jeff Love emerging victorious. GG's buddy. Heading into the next battle, we're going to lead Clefable into Swampert, a Pokemon I thought would be extinct, but evidently is alive and well. We see the pivot into Gator. I think there's no reason to run Swampert now. Swampert straight 5 to Hydro Cannon. So if you want to use something that's 5 to the Hydro Cannon, use what Jeff's using, and I'm using Gator, especially the Shadow variant. The opponent farmed up 9 Mud Shots, which is how much it takes now for Swampert to reach an Earthquake. 9, so you did this Pokemon dirty. Jeff then fires off the Hydro Cannon on the CMP side, of course. That can only be a Hydro Cannon. Jeff Love then looking for the Shadow Claw farm down, which he gets, and leaves with a whole heap of residual energy good to go. I actually think the opponent died there with a Hydro Cannon, which is very rough for them. The opponent then sends out Clefable, shield the first Hydro Cannon, but Gator says there's plenty more of where that came from. The second Hydro Cannon will be landing, getting them below half health. The opponent only needs to fire off a Swift here. Despite being underwhelming, it will easily knock out. The opponent actually reveals they haven't even got Swift, because if they had, they would have thrown it there. They throw the Meteor Mash. Clefable will be taking super effective here, but non-stab Meteor Mash isn't going to pick up the 1-hit KO. Jeff tanks the damage. He's then going to overfarm before firing off the Swift. Swift should just about knock out from here. Holy crap, it actually doesn't. We then look to snipe with Golurk. Out comes Skeledirge, but Skeledirge going to be straight in and straight out. Get that Skeledirge off my screen. We're going to mod slap farm down Clefable and take that game. In the next battle, we see Tapu Koko in the lead. My god, do I want to see a mod slap land on this thing, as it is very, very glassy. This is probably a matchup you can bait in. Tapu Koko users love to 2-shield it. I still go for the Moonblast, but I think this is a bait opportunity. Jeff follows suit, going for the Moonblast as well, and the opponent obliges, putting up that Protect Shield. Jeff then looks to fire off the next Moonblast. The opponent pivots out into a Rangaroo. Moonblast has some very valuable chip damage. We haven't really got the best response for this. Of course, we would tank one non-stab Brutal Swing. It'd probably do a lot, probably similar to what the G-Weezy one did earlier. Jeff looks to keep his Golurk healthy, fires off the Shadow Punch, even single resisted. It still knocks out a Rangaroo. Of course, Tapu Koko cannot return. That would be a death sentence. Oh, baby. They do send out Tapu Koko. We fire off the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch picks up the knockout. Oh, boy. Out comes Excadrill. Trainer, you are so weak to ground. Jeff just sends out Clefable. The opponent doesn't want to get resisted. Fairy Wind farm down to knock out Clefable, but this game's over. One Shadow Claw picks up the dub. In the next battle, what a lead. Kingdra. The opponent safe switches into Sandslash. I've got no idea why we're not pivoting. Jeff going for the chip and dip, but Swift isn't going to do a lot whatsoever. I'll be honest, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Golurk could just one shield and fully mod slap farm this thing down. Oh boy, there's the pivot into Golurk. Look at Sandslash getting deleted. My god. I actually posted on Twitter earlier saying I felt like an absolute degen, because in the right matchup, Golurk is such a fast move beatdown specialist. Back out comes Kingdra, I assume to operate as the damage sponge. To my surprise, the opponent puts up that Protect Shield. I've got no idea why you'd shield Kingdra, as it is absolutely atrocious into Clefable. Although in fairness, it looks like 2 Shadow Punches essentially knock him out, which is again absurd. Jeff sends out Clefable, fires off the Swift. Swift, once again, very underwhelming, but we are going to survive an Octazooka. Octazooka doesn't knock us out. We then see the pivot into Gator to greet this Talonflame. Oof. Jeff throws on alignment, which is so rough. That is going to allow Talonflame to potentially double up. We're actually also doubled up here. So I personally wouldn't shield that first move in case the opponent Flame Charge bait and then throw a fly, because a boosted fly would knock us out. Jeff actually shielded, perhaps gambling he would win CMP. This is an IV dependent CMP tie. If you got PvP IV Gator, Talonflame will always win that. If you've got 9 or plus attack Gator, you'll always win that CMP tie. So it is something to consider when building your Shadow Gator. In the next battle, we see Ampharos in the lead. Much like me, Jeff just YOLO in the Moonblast. Moonblast, force a Protect Shield, which is very nice for us. We will survive any one move. The opponent fires off the Thunder Punch. I saw a Thunder Punch variant, and Jeff has also seen one. I think if you go on Ampharos this season, I'd go on the double buff moveset, a Brutal Swing and Trailblaze. However, it is what it is. Jeff takes his shield advantage, sends out Golurk, looking for that one shield, mod slap farm, all the way down, and let's see it wants to greet Golurk with residual energy. The opponent sends out Virizion. Jeff going for the harder hitting Dynamic Punch. Shadow Punch is slightly better DPE, but Dynamic Punch does do objectively more. With Clefable knocked out, Virizion quite a problematic Pokemon for the remainder of our team. Jeff shields up the Leaf Blade, returns fire with the Shadow Punch, forcing the opponent's final protection, then see the pivot into Gator, looking to soak some of this energy and keeping Golurk around. The opponent fires off the Leaf Blade, they're able to outpace to the next Leaf Blade. So it looks like they don't have a great answer for Gator whatsoever. We now send out Golurk. Jeff farms up, fires off the Shadow Punch on the CMP tie. Golurk with a small energy lead, looking to pick up that one hit KO. Out comes Mark. Jeff goes straight for the Dynamic Punch. Is this enough to knock out? Oof, no it's not, but one more mod slap gets the dub, and Jeff gonna pick up that big 5-0, and we're about to reveal Jeff starting Elo. So at the point of this 5-0, he starts in the mid 2200s, I think it's 2237. Harry played one further set, went 5-0 once again, and he's now sat at 2308. Absolutely fantastic. So if you pair Jeff's one of 18-2 with my one of 20-5, with 38-7 overall, which is pretty damn good, I'll be honest. However, you can see from some of my own battles, I definitely think I should have won a lot more of their matches. I think we should be like 41-4. So a very strong team. Give it a go for yourself. This is one I'd highly recommend, and others have had success with too. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.